So when you watch this back, right, it's like I'm talking to you while you're sitting in your living room.
Yeah, if I watch it
Yeah.
again, but I'm here now.
Right, but when you do watch it back, you know, and then you'll be like, whoa, hey man, that's me talking in the background there. Technology, dude. It's awesome. All right. So where we stopped last is we put the body class function into our theme. Yes, Chris?
I was wondering if you had the lecture for actually creating the nav. Yes.
To be ahead of the game? It's written.
It's written. Which one is it? Let's see if you that have to do with navigation.
Creating a navigation and menus in WordPress. No, not that one. Creating a navigation in your theme. This one. Yeah. So if you want to jump ahead, right? So let's just say this. Has anybody taken a look ahead through the upcoming lectures, right? So then you know what's coming along. Is anybody noticing that this is kind of going to become like a little how to do WordPress book?
Yeah.
Sort of?
Make some money.
Yeah, I could. Here I am making money off it, right here, Evan. Okay. But yeah, so we're going to register your menus here in the future. For those of you at home, select it, right? So when you're watching this at home, Victoria, sorry, I can select that and talk about it, right? Then we will put eventually put your function right here, your navigation function, into your theme, which will then pull your navigation that you set up in WordPress. Does that make sense? Yeah. So going back to the lecture for today. Creating a WordPress theme from a template. Again, we got to putting in our body class function. And again, the body class function, what that does, it is very helpful in terms of down the road, if I am looking at my site, and let's say I want to do something unique according to the home page, if I inspect element here, that body function then is going to write into the body tag on the home page. It's going to write class equals and then a whole bunch of those classes, right? So this kind of goes along with, Jenny, you were the one that asked about, do you have to write class equals in there, right? Yeah. So again, the answer is no, that it is going to write the attribute class equals and then multiple classes in there based on where you are. So if we're on the home page and we want to do something unique to the home page, right, we could make a CSS selector body dot home and then whatever element, right, to make that one element unique. Does that make sense? Okay. So same thing if we're then in some of the other pages, right? And this is my demo that actually is working for the most part in terms of navigation, right? So then you notice body class equals page. Page ID 8. We are going to be putting in page IDs later on down the road, okay? In terms of, although we don't necessarily need to do it any longer, I typically put like an article tag around my content and make an ID and say page ID, etc. But now that I've started using this, I don't necessarily have to do that any longer. But one way, shape, or form, that is a body class function. The functions that we have left to do are WP head, WP footer, and then the loop, which actually pulls the content out of your text editor. Okay? The loop is not necessarily that complicated, but it is if there are while loop, then statement. Okay? And then you add in something like the content to pull out. What do you think the content function pulls?
Content.
Content. See how WordPress is really, I mean, look at these three people that are usually here. They're like, oh my God, this is so easy, I don't even need to show up for class meeting, right? Really, I think Mark had an epiphany. Talking about you, Mark. You know, he's like, this is easy, okay? So, the WP, so let me discuss what does the WP head and WP footer functions actually do, right? So if I go to my Git, and go to that one stupid theme that I always go to for reference. In the header file, you can see that I am putting the WP head function right before the closing of the head tab. So notice up here, I have, well, let me highlight it for the viewers at home. Right here, and then right here. I have, let's say, links that I've placed in here for style sheets, for the shortcut icon, etc. Here I have put in script tags that pull certain JavaScripts, etc. But what if you have plugins that you've snapped into your website, right? For instance, that contact form that we plugged in, right? Well, if that contact form that we plugged in has any style sheets that it needs to link through, or JavaScripts that it has to link to, that's what the WP head function is for, right? So, right. So if we look at then my actual Premium Design Works site and we view page source, here are those links that I just pointed out that I put in there. Here are those scripts that I pointed out. Here is the function or the JavaScript that says on window.load, if you are using IE 8 or below, go read this posting that will mock the hell out of you, right? Here then is the WP head. So take a look at what is populated in the WP head here, right? This is where, for instance, metaname, generator, content, WordPress 4.0.4. So WordPress core will use the WP head function to place in a meta tag into your site or into your code. Other plugins, for instance, let's say this one, Page Navi, right? That is the, actually, I don't think I have that one actually working at this point in time. But that is the plugin that you can put a navigation system down at the bottom of your blog feed. You know, on my school site where it says page 1, page 2, page 3, page 50, right? That's the Page Navi thing, okay? So it places a link to the style sheet that is built within the plugin. So here you can see it places a link to the style sheet, WP content plugins, the style that is actually in the plugins folder, right? So in that plugin, it uses the head function to place a link to the style sheet. So that's what the WP head function does. What about then if I go to my footer, the WP footer function, which should be placed right before the closing body tag. What do you think that does? Stuff very similar. Okay, meaning if I go here, and again, we view page source, which is already open, and we go all the way down to the bottom. How many of you have been taught place some JavaScripts down at the bottom of the page so that they load after the rest of everything loads? Whoever taught you that should get a high five. It's one way of doing things. It's a correct way of doing things. So yeah, you had that look on your face like, uh-oh, Mike's gonna bust some chops. Okay? No. So this is where then in the WP footer, right, a lot of jQuery or let's say WP content plugins contact form includes jQuery. So right there, that is the JavaScript call to the JavaScript file that goes along with contact form 7. So those two functions then, a lot of plugins, a lot of other stuff use those functions to make things work, okay? Specifically, one of the functions that WordPress core uses is it uses the WP footer to then, I think it uses the WP footer to place in the admin toolbar, right? So if we're logged into our WordPress, if I go and log into the one that I'm doing along with you guys in class here, and I log in, right now, if I log in and go back to my site, right now, you don't see that admin bar at the top because the WP footer function is missing in my theme. So what do you think we should do right now, Evan? Let's put in the WP head and the WP footer functions, right?
And then we can go back to our admin from that page.
Well,
Easier.
yes. Okay. So here then, right before my closing of my head tag, right, is where I always like to do comments start. If you ever look at my code, you'll notice there's a lot of starts and comments like this because, well, the big thing is that, has anybody ever worked on somebody else's code that they haven't really commented a whole lot of things and you thought to yourself that person should have been fired? Right? Yeah, exactly. So, so I like to do comments like that. So, PHP, WP underscore head. Did everybody get your cheat things working? Yeah? They're awesome, aren't they? All right, and I forgot to, I'm going to have to do this every single time. I'm going to have to go and edit my site and turn on the automatically upload files to server on save because I forgot to store them. And then we're going to scan. And we can talk about something, Nick, if you wanted to while this is scanning.
That music thread is interesting.
The what?
The music thread that runs on in the Seattle Central.
Oh, that Stanny?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sabbath and Maiden, dude. Those are my coding playlists. And then an old student pointed out this one album where Bruce Dickinson from Maiden is singing a Sabbath song, and so I had to download that.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So, right. This conversation isn't all that interesting, but I'm just waiting for my cache to update. So we need to talk about something, right? No, I should apologize, right? All right. The next thing I want to do, so I have my WP head in there. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom then, and right before the closing body. All right, WP footer. And footer. Opening PHP script tag, think aloud protocol, WP underscore footer, save, upload on save. All right, so now that I put the WP footer function in there, I'm going to go and see if my admin toolbar is loading. All right, so if I reload this, bang, there's my admin toolbar up here now. So what you were asking, Janelle, is yes, this makes it a lot easier. Once I'm logged in, I can actually, if my admin toolbar is there, I can then go into my dashboard, or I can write from here, just say new post, et cetera, et cetera. So you may have seen, well, you may have not if you haven't been using WordPress for very long. A lot of the older themes, and I even used to do this before this this WordPress admin bar actually appeared, or they actually had it. We used to put down at the bottom an edit link. Does anybody ever remember that kind of stuff? Yeah. So I also noticed another bug in the system where if I am like let's say I go to the blog. Yeah. Oh, that's right. My navigation isn't working. I also noticed kind of a bug where I was navigating around my demo for the link back to your home, right? What I noticed was when I turned the other permalink structure on, doing this href here to link back to your home page, in other words, go back to the root and go to this folder. What I was noticing is when I was in blog posts, it would go back and not display the correct URL, right? So if that's the case, we might want to use the absolute long path of the URL, or HTTP www path to that folder for the link on our logo. Okay, sound good? All right. So, how many of you guys now have the WP head and the WP footer in there? Yay! Last but not least, here's what we're going to do today. Take a look at all the pretty content here. Oh, all this pretty content. Huh? Yeah. Even the header, I'm going to delete. Well, I'm actually not going to delete the H2 tag, but what I am going to do is delete my image class featured, because we're going to use featured images later on down the road. But basically, this content right here is stored in our database for each of our pages. Okay, so if we are then on the home page, right? All this content, right? I hate to do this to you, but it's going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. My text content. Okay, so in other words, on my page, all of my pages, right? I have or had content, right? So now I should see this blank page here, right? If I go to my admin though, I go to my dashboard and I go to my set of pages, right? They're still all there, right? I don't necessarily have a home page just yet, right? but my home page on my demo is kind of the blog feed, right? So what it should be pulling is, it should be pulling, and this is something that we're going to change later, right? We're going to do a static home page. Posts, all posts. Okay, so remember I am recording this lecture, hello world, okay? Typically on a blog, and let's just kind of talk about this in a sort of a default setting, but if we go to my mikesankhula.com blog, it's set up like a traditional blog in terms of the home page is pulling from, in other words, it's not a static home page, it's a blog feed home page. How long can I describe it while the thing is spinning? We almost had to talk about Sabbath again, right? So on this typical page right here, I am using index.php still as my home page, and it then is giving me my blog feed, right? So we're going to actually, on our index.php, set up our loop for all of our pages. It's going to look different on different pages, and I'll show you that when we get there. But here's what we want to do. If we go back to the lecture here, we just put in our WP footer. We want to create the loop for your theme, okay? So again, here's a link to the codex. The loop is PHP code used by WordPress to display posts or pages or content in general, okay? So using the loop, a typical loop has a few different parts to it. And this is where the standard loop basically starts off with if have posts, while have posts, the post, okay? Who can tell me what these two colons mean? You have Deb in your last name. Oh, you'll be able to tell me what those colons are. Yeah. What do these colons mean?
And or.
Well, let's look at this. Down here, here's how the loop actually works. Okay? If have posts. So it's a conditional statement if there are posts, right?
Basically a substitute for the code.
Yeah, it's a substitute for compounding, right, nested conditional or nested loops.
When I think about it, loops, think about those as 10. If have posts, then one.
Yeah, exactly. So basically then, if there are posts, right, so an if conditional statement, then a while loop, while there are posts, statement, get the post, right? If you just put the post in here, unfortunately, you're not going to see anything, right? This is a statement to, I think, just go access the database for that ID, right? Then what we will do, you'll see this post content here, right? So that's where in the standard loop, right? So if we look at this loop here, and I show you my screenshot, if have posts, while have posts, statement, the post. So that's the starting of the loop. Then typically we close the PHP script, okay? So if I close a PHP script and then open it up, what's that called? Those of you that took Web 200 with me, you should know what it's called. What's that principle? Escaping. Okay. So in other words, we are starting a function, or we're starting a PHP script, then we're closing it because we're going to write HTML in here. Okay. Right here, we're going to start writing HTML. So if we are within a script, how do we write HTML within a PHP script? We have to use an echo statement or an echo function to then write the HTML out. So here is where we escape it, where we can actually then go and write just regular HTML. So notice this function right here, the content. So this function, the content, is the function that then goes and looks at everything inside here that is in this rich text editor. Okay, the permalink, right? We are gonna we're gonna do this. We're gonna put the permalink as a link on our H2, right? And then we're also gonna use the title function. So this is where, for each whatever piece of content, each page we're posting, we can grab the content from the rich text editor. We can also grab the title, and we can put a link around that title that will send it to this permalink, right? So that's how then, if we look here, title has a link around it. Here's the byline that we're going to put in later with categories. Here is a post thumbnail. This right here gets the excerpt field, okay, which we're going to do later. If you look ahead in the lectures, I'm going to actually have us set up a blog feed exactly like this, okay? So if I then, for my blog feed, click on this title, right, it's going to send me to the permalink for that posting, which the permalink for that posting is basically that posting, okay? So let's write the loop, okay? Oh, poor content.
So
PHP. Start your PHP, right? And this is where where your content is supposed to be in your index, in your template. When you had text, does everybody know where we're supposed to be putting this? Let me ask you that. Is everybody sure where you're supposed to be putting this? It's a question that nobody's answering it. Chris, you're good? Yeah? Okay. If, let me get my notes so I remember how to spell everything. All right, so in an if statement, you then have if, then the condition, right? Have underscore posts while place for the condition have underscore posts. And why the cheat sheet doesn't have posts in there, I don't know. The underscore post. Yeah, because I'm starting out the if statement. Then within the if statement, I'm starting a while loop. Within that while loop, I'm making a statement, the post. Okay? Notice my H2 tag is underneath it. My div ID content is up above it, because the div ID content is the container for my content, right? H2, this H2 is going to be populated by the title of the page you're posting, right? So I want to leave that in there right now. But what I want to do down here at the end of or before the closing div tag, I've opened up an if statement, I've opened up a while statement. I need to close the while statement I need to close the if statement. So the better WordPress way to do it is and while, and then it turns green, semicolon, and if, semicolon. I'm also going to, for good practice, comment say start the loop. Start the loop. End the loop. Save. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have just written your standard WordPress loop. That should be on every page or posting of, some way, shape, or form, okay? So then again, within that loop, I have my H2, right? So what I want to do then is say, the underscore title. Use the title function, okay? So now, if I go back to my home page, right, I'm guessing I am going to see two titles. My Hello World posting and my Welcome to my website posting titles. That sounds correct? Sorry? Okay, let's see if I did it right. For those of you watching at home, right? I like that. I've never been able to say, for those of you watching at home, the millions and millions. Thank you, Chris. That's how it goes, right? Yeah. Huh?
You should say the dozens.
The dozens and dozens. It's good to have a wrestling buddy. That's all I'm saying. Here we go. So I'm going to go back and visit my site. And if I'm on the home page, here I am recording this lecture. Hello, world. Yay! Next thing I want to do. Okay. Here then, after that H2 tag, is here's what's actually happening. If there are things, while there are things, display those things. So if this is the home page and I have two postings, it is going to display the title for two postings. If I go to, let's say, go back to here, go back to my dashboard, and go to all pages, go to my about page, and say view my about page. Okay, so here's my about page right now. You can see the permalink about. My about page has a title. Oh, isn't that cute? But nothing else. Here's what we're going to do. Underneath this title, the underscore content. And I forget why I should do this, but the content also takes arguments. Let me see if I don't have to put those single quotes in there. Here's the thing. I'm testing things on the fly here. No, you do stuff just as you're told to do it one way. And then you're like, let's see what happens if I don't do it that way. Let's try that. Well, just, testing stuff on the fly. Okay, looks like it just pulls the content for that page, right? If I go back to the home page, now notice this. I believe I have set up this photo. Let's see, open link in new window, graduation. It is pulling the original sized photo. Interesting. If I then do this, put those in there, let's see if it pulls the right sized photo. Nope. If I edit this page, hold on. Let me make sure, because that's troubling me. I have the original photo in there. Maybe I placed the original and not the large size. Let's see. I'm going to go and I'm going to edit this. Large, large 1024, 768. Oh, I know what I haven't done. I haven't set my images for my new theme. My media sizes. That's what that is. I'll do that later and fix that later. But remember how we were saying your image sizes in your media settings, right? So if I go to my media settings, under settings, right, media, thumbnail size 150 by 150, it should be 140 by 140, medium size 300, 0, large size 620 by 0, save changes. Now, if I go back, remember when I was talking about the regenerate thumbnails plugin, right? If I go back and visit that about page, it's still the old sized image. So I'm going to have to download that regenerate thumbnails plugin, right? Let's go back and do one more thing. How many of you have gotten your loop to work and your title and content to work? Okay. Sure.
Navigation, like a sidebar. So do I need to take out also?
So what you're asking is this. I have this temporary sidebar in here, right? Okay. Eventually we are
Flex slider, flex slider.
in your sidebar or in your
Not on my sidebar.
on your home page.
Yeah.
We're going to be putting that in later, so you have one of two options. You can take it out for now, or just, in other words, all I care about is that you're getting this functionality to work. And I'm assuming that then you guys are going to just get this functionality to work and then figure out, oh, how to customize this and customize that. So maybe you started off using your home page as your template versus your main page as your template, okay? Because what I'm doing in my lectures is down the road, I'm going to take the home page design and then put that in and then add this stuff. So what I would say for you, so all your pages have your flex slider in it?
No, just on the one.
Just on the one?
Homepage.
Yeah, just leave it in there for now. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Because I'm not going to worry about it at this point in time. But, okay. So right now, though, if we go back to the home page, here's the thing. I see hello world. I see I'm recording this lecture. And this is the content function is then giving me all of the content. Have you guys ever seen blogs where you have a headline, the whole blog article, the next headline, the whole blog article? Doesn't make for a very UX blog feed, right? We're going to do a better blog feed down the road, but for right now, let's just leave it like this. But what we should do is on this headline, place a link on the headline. Yeah?
So this index page we're working on, this is not going to be the front page, right? This is supposed to be one of our inner pages.
Right. What we're going to do.
The about page. So I'm getting kind of confused. I got like an about page, but I also have my index page, which was my about page.
So let's say it like this.
Yeah, mine's not even.
Hold on, let me answer that. Index.php. So what we're doing is, and this is why I'm saying build from your main page template, right? So your about page or whatever pages are all probably look similar.
Yeah.
What we are going to do, I think next week, we are going to take this index.php and we are then going to chop it into.
They just divvy up the content.
Right. So basically, yeah. So what I'm showing you is a process to make a theme, right?
So really dynamic. And then
right. So eventually, our index.php Right. Yes. Our index.php eventually is going to have those includes in there, right? And then we're going to take this index.php, save it as page, save it as single, right? And then customize single and page, right? To then, so we're going to use index then as the blog feed page. We're going to use page as our regular pages.
The starting point.
Right, right, right. So this is essentially what could be done in the ITC 210 class, right? For instance, remember when you were in there and you had your wireframes?
Yep.
Your developer then could take your wireframe, build your index page template, and then get things rolling and kind of chop it up, and then you put visuals in there. You know, yeah. The process is how you get to the same place might be different. You take the high road, I'll take the low road, Nick will go in the middle. We'll see who wins, right? But yeah, we're on a journey, is what I'm saying. Good, that's making sense to you though, right? So does that make sense to you, Janelle? Down the road, we're going to chop it into the separate pages.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that my issue is something else then, because it's just, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's do our last thing before it is then lab. So I'm going to make sure I'm working off the right index.php. So the last thing that I want to do then is within my content loop, right? I want to put a link around the title. Href. Open up PHP script tag. Close PHP script tag. Nick, what's the function? I just wrote it out. The permalink. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to close my anchor tag. Right? Whoops. I have an error in my code. And that fixed the error. Hey, href. The new version of Dreamweaver does not make this green. It really irritates me. I always think I have an error because that's not green, the href.
Look on the A.
It's correct, isn't it, Doug? Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry.
So I'm going to go back to my home page here. And now I should have links around I'm recording this lecture and hello world. So if I click on I'm recording this lecture, notice that it's taken me to I am recording this lecture, right? However, should I have a link here on this H2 on the individual posting? Probably not. When we make this into our single.php template, we'll remove the permalink. That pretty much concludes, I think. Let me go back to my lecture, right? Oh, here's the thing, right? So in the WordPress world, this is where WordPress says, are there postings to show? There are, great. Then while there are postings to be shown, I will show the contents of them. Seriously, WordPress can talk like that. Don't question, just believe. Thank you. One laugh. Let me make sure that that was all that we needed to cover. Yep, that's it. So here. Yeah. So that's it for this week, Nectar. Are you looking at this going? Yeah. Okay.
Your lectures are very thorough.
Appreciate that.
Question though that is somewhat related.
Okay, let me close out the broadcast first. So how should we sign off today, Nick? What should we say? All right, Nick says thanks for watching. See you later.